everybody. Sorry about the false start. We did have a ton of people sign up, but because of our little issue, maybe some of them gave up and are not coming in. But thank you for those of you that have come. Today, we're just going to talk about supercharging your gym. Obviously, there's a lot of issues happening that we're all dealing with. It's a worldwide thing. It's not a personal thing. It might feel very personal. It might feel very difficult and like that you are struggling and maybe not getting the results that you deserve. And it feels very like the world is against you. The reality is it's a new state of the world that we have to look at and figure out, okay, what are we doing and how do we deal with it? I will say to you, there are some gyms doing phenomenally well. Like I'm not saying just doing well, and it sounds nice to say it, but doing extremely well with rebuilding and getting kids back into their gyms. And we're going to share some thoughts and some things about that over the next couple of days. And we want to, help you maybe make some decisions of how to get back on track and how things are going. So today we're going to mainly focus on mindset and goals. And mindset's really the key thing. The gym that we know specifically that is doing ridiculously well, like I am actually quite shocked with how well they're doing. Her mindset is very good and in a really good position. Now, obviously, it helps when you're doing really well to have a really good mindset, but she really does have a very good mindset. We're going to go through that a little bit. We're going to go through things to consider. There's lots of things to be considering that we've never had to before. Many of you have probably been in this business for years, and now things are very different, and we have to be flexible and we have to change. We have to consider some of the things that we're dealing with. We need to talk about our biggest obstacle. We'll go into depth a little bit with that, and we're going to go through how to calculate membership goals. And this is a calculation that we've used for years. So this is prior to COVID, but I don't think our overall membership goals should be changed just because COVID's happened. It might take a little bit longer. There might be some different ways that we need to go about it, but I think the calculation still is real. Otherwise, I'd have changed it, but we're going to share that with you as well. So, let's get back on here. Here we go. So mindset and goals. So this is me first up. Some of you might know who I am. I'm former gym owner. My wife is a gymnastics pro. She's coached high-level gymnastics for years. She's taken a couple of years break when we've had our little boy. I've been in TV, magazines, and radio prior to running Creatively Disruptive. So I kind of know how media works and how it all goes. And, also the dad of a little boy, which I'm very proud of. We've been marketing gymnastics since 2015, so we know the business. Not only do I know your daily role as a former gym owner, we owned our gym for 12 years, but we actually, as a company and our staff, are very familiar with gymnastics because we've been working with gymnastics clubs for a long time. Let's go here. I'm going to, okay. We're working directly with 60 plus gyms right now. I'm gonna just mute everybody real quick, just so we can hear. Blah, 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 blah. I think everyone's coming in now, Ella. Okay. We've been working with 60 gyms. We are directly working with 60 gyms as clients, doing everything from website development to email marketing, Facebook marketing, Google marketing, the whole 9 yards we offer. And we've been doing that for a while. So we really do understand the numbers, and we get a lot of numbers that we deal with. I think we're spending around about, I think the number was around about $100,000 a month on advertising for gymnastics gyms. And we're supporting over 2,000, it's actually nearly 2,500 gyms in the gymnastics marketing group. So if you're not in the gymnastics marketing group, it's a free group with a lot of information in it to help you. So make sure you join that. So with that, and I'm a Congress speaker. I spoke in regional congresses last year, spoke in National Congress, the virtual one this year. So all good. Next, things to consider right now. So how does your staffing plan look is a big thing that I want you guys to be thinking about. There's some staffing options that we really should be thinking about, and we should be thinking out of the box. I'll give you this one reason. Many of us focus, I know we did in our gym, we focused on coaches, we focused on making sure that they were trained. We we put a lot of effort into our coaching staff. And not much effort into the rest of the business. So sometimes, not all, I know there's a lot of front desks that are really well run, but sometimes there's a mum that's running the front desk, basically answering phones. There's a mum, maybe it's even, there's actually a trade in services at the front desk and all sorts of different things. So we typically really, really focus on the quality of our coaching staff. And sometimes the rest of the staff is maybe not looked at as seriously, because considering that we're actually a business, we really need to look at everything and be really thoughtful about it. Right now, there is an element of selling that's involved with our businesses. We can't have somebody at the front desk that just answers the phone and takes an order as it comes in. We need to actively be pursuing the opportunities that we have to get parents in. When we start spending money on Facebook and Google or whatever, or spending money on our websites to be up and running and putting all the effort in that we sometimes put in to drive people to us, we've got to make sure that we have a staff that's going to convert that business into real business. And we need to look at it as important as a team coach, in my opinion, right? If we don't bring in people who are good at converting interest into business, into clients, into gymnasts, that coach is not going to be coaching anybody, especially right now, unfortunately. So we need to be looking at our staffing plan, and we need to be thinking outside of the box. And the outside of the box thinking that I would ask you to consider is look at if you have a sales team, if you have a sales staff, and that sales staff might be a really good salesperson of one, but you need someone in the business that is probably not you, because you can't do it all, needs to be really putting on a bit of a show when it comes to selling your product and selling your gym. We need to sell right now. Back in the day, we probably didn't need to be as professional. People would come in, people would just sign up. That's not quite happening. So we need to actually make sure that we actually have somebody that really follows sales processes, that is a sales professional and knows how to get people excited when they're talking to them and getting them involved with the business. So be thinking about what your sales plan looks like. Be looking at your front desk staff out, and look at them and think, okay, is my front desk staff a sales driving portion of the business, or are they kind of like a customer service sitting there sweetly talking to clients, which is, all of them are equally important, but there needs to be one that's a revenue driving part of your business, right? What is the mindset of your parents and your community? Makes a big deal. I know in the area that we're in, if I'm honest, we're in Phoenix, Arizona, in the neighborhood that we're in, people are very, out there and doing stuff. It's like so busy. I mean, you go to the stores, people are wearing masks, but they're out there doing things. There's loads of people in the parks. There's loads of people. There's a lake just north of us, and it's busy. People are out doing stuff that it seems, at least in our community, it's definitely moved past a cautious nature of with COVID and so forth. But that's not the same with every community. Other communities are a lot more concerned about what's going on and need a little bit more confidence in what's in whatever they're doing. So we really need to be looking at your local community, and you need to find out where their heads are at. So a really good way that I recommend that you do is actually have a very thorough conversation with your parents, as many conversations as possible, either through direct calls and conversations, or surveying them and talking to them about what they are, what's important to them, what worries them, what they're concerned about. and get a very clear understanding of where your parents and community are at. Now that changes, obviously. You know, if there's a big second wave that hits your local area, that mindset of the parents and the community will be changing. So I would highly recommend that you stay on top of knowing what your parents and your community are feeling, and try to take any of your biases out of it and let them tell you, so you get a really good idea of what's going on, because that's going to change potentially how you operate, how you advertise, the messages and the wording that you're using to drive that business through the door, right? So, you know, I highly recommend that you put some effort and time into that, finding out how your parents and your community feel. Be prepared to be flexible. Listen to what they say, right? Change the way you operate. And you know, I've got to say, I'm really impressed and proud of the gymnastics community and the Kids Activity Center community, the wider one with dance and swim and karate and martial arts and so forth. There has been a lot of flexibility, but I just wanted to make sure that we are talking about that flexibility, and being flexible is really important, right? This is not a time for us to be, you know, dogmatic. This is a time to figure out, okay, what is the best way to do this to make sure that my community and my parents feel better about things, right? And to institute changes that we may never have considered pre-COVID. So be prepared to be very flexible. Look at everything that's going on and change those things as you need. Sorry, there's a taco truck driving by, if you heard that. Well, there he is again. How can you leverage virtual classes as a way to reach and engage with your community in a new and ongoing way? If you did some virtual classes when everyone was locked down, and you've stopped, I would recommend that you continue doing it. If you've never done virtual classes, I would recommend that you do some. Now, it doesn't mean that you're doing multiple classes every single day. It could be that you do 1 or 2 classes a week. But what I would suggest that it does is it allows your community to see what's going on in your gym. And one of the biggest problems that I see many gyms have right now is the community aren't even interested to see what's going on in your gym, because they're so worried about what is happening out there with COVID and all the different things that are out there. And they've got so many people telling them so many different things that oftentimes that stirs up a lot of confusion. And typically when people are confused, they don't do anything, right? So there is a sales motto that I use regularly, but a confused mind does not buy. And in this standpoint, it's a confused mind will do nothing. Right. And obviously doing nothing means that they're not going to sign up. They're not going to join the gym. So what the virtual classes allows you to do is actually reach out to the community and show them, hey, things are happening. We're open. We've got kids having fun. We've got cool things happening. You know, this is all good. You can start showing the fun and enjoyment that the kids are having. Because remember, whilst this COVID thing is happening to us, we want to show the community and we want to show our previous parents just why gymnastics is fun. Like for the same reason, the same ways we used to market gymnastics as a fun sport that kids can become healthy and fit and strong and learn things and build character. All of those things still apply. All of those things are still important to parents. So we need to show them. And I suggest that if you have a virtual class system, that you use that virtual class system to reach out to the community, right? So the community can be thoroughly comfortable with what's happening in your gym and start missing the gym again. Start feeling, you know, that fear of missing out of what's going on. Parents still want their kids to develop. Parents are sick of having their kids at home, right? They really are. I mean, we hear it all the time that parents are kind of over this. They may as well come into your gym. And you can use your virtual class to kind of like show them that things are happening and that you are available. And we are actually going to be rolling out some things in the gymnastics marketing group with My Gym is Online, which is a virtual class portal. We're putting in a bit of an investment ourselves to help you as gym owners to sign up and use their system for free for the rest of the year. So if you haven't got something running and it's not well organized, definitely look into the gymnastics marketing group, and we're going to be rolling out some stuff. It's of no cost to you, at least till January, and you'll be able to try out the virtual class system and work through it, and hopefully build out your plans and so forth. But highly recommend that we do it so we can reach out to the community using all the cool things that are happening inside your gym. What does your new enrollment numbers look like? What is your plan to get back to where you were or beyond, right? Has anybody got more than 50%? If you can just type it in the chat. Does anybody have more than 50% enrollment right now? Like, let's say February. I know we're talking about September, but let's say in February, when you had your February, before COVID, does anybody have 50% or plus right now? Just a quick conversation. If I don't see anything, I'll assume no. Let's have a look. Third, okay. So I'm guessing most have less than 50%. So that is not like a sustainable thing. I'm guessing that many of you that own your gyms are not really making much money, if any at all, at that. And we need to be getting back, and we need to be looking at, okay, what is our plan of action to get there? Sitting there, I hate to say it, sitting there and waiting to see if people come back at this stage, especially if you've been open for more than, I would say 60 days. I think sitting there and waiting for something to happen is probably not the right plan. You could sit there and you could go back to what it was like when you first opened your gyms, but you're going to be taking years to recover. And some of you can deal with a few months of recovery, maybe even a year of recovery. I don't think it's sustainable for the gymnastics community to take 5, 6, 10 years to recover, right? So we need to make sure that we have a plan on what are we going to do to get back. And the reality is, I think from our experience, most gyms, when they come on board with us, have never had a solid marketing plan. Some gyms have, most gyms don't. And I think that's really, really important, because it's basically a plan of how to build your revenue back. And it needs to be constant and forever. And you should do it even when COVID is over and in our rearview mirror. What I'm worried about is for those of you that sit there and wait for things to get better, even when COVID's gone away, you are always going to be slightly behind everyone else, right? And you'll definitely be behind whatever competition you have in your local area that actually get their act together and get it out there. So Santa Rosa, 10% here. California is tough. I feel for those of you who are in California and New York to a degree. You open, you close. It's all over the place. I really do feel for you. But we still need to have a plan. We need to know what we can and cannot do and work within those margins. If you actually get closed down, what do we do to make sure when we reopen, that we reopen with good numbers coming through, right? We can't just sit there and let things happen to us. It's that we've been punching bags for 6 months, and we've got to start taking control. But yeah, Santa Rosa, I feel for you. I really do. Are you using technology to operate with a 2020s mindset? So are you developing content to share? Are you using Facebook regularly and well from a social media standpoint? Are you using Instagram well from a social media standpoint? Are you using Google well from an advertising standpoint? Do you have your business, your Google My Business set up correctly? Are you updating Google My Business regularly? Do you have messages turned on Google My Business? There's a whole bunch of stuff that you guys can do, which is actually free, to actually start pushing the needle and start operating in a 2020s mindset. And what is a 2020 mindset? It's using online sources to drive the narrative of your business, right? And you take control of it. A lot of it comes down to, from your end, is constantly taking photos, constantly doing video, constantly capturing stories to, excite people that you're alive, that you're operating, and that the kids that are involved with your gym are having a good time, right? And learning and enjoying themselves. But you've got to be capturing those moments. I would even imagine that those of you that are at 50% or even Santa Rosa are at 10%, those 10% of those kids, there's probably some really cool little stories you could be sharing and capturing. Start capturing them, right? Start putting them out there. This is even before we start spending money on these platforms. I highly recommend that you have a budget for Google. I highly recommend that you have a budget for Facebook. And when I say Facebook, I'm actually talking about Facebook and Instagram because they work, they're basically the same thing, just presented in a different way. But are you using your technology and operating with that 2020 mindset of creating great content? And great content is not ads for leotards. It's not 10% off sign up. It's happy kids doing cool things with cool coaches and, meeting friends and enjoying themselves, and pushing out the reasons why parents should typically like to join gymnastics, right? So we want to be telling the stories of the little one that, is getting stronger, the two girls that have known each other for 5 years, how they met in the gym and became best buddies. We all have those stories in our gyms. I mean, every single gym probably has a pair of girls or a pair of kids that met each other through the gym and are now best friends. I mean, every gym has at least one of those stories, right? Every gym has stories about kids that overcame discomfort or challenges and became stronger for it. All of our gyms have stories of little ones, kinder gym kids learning new skills like doing a forward roll. Start capturing those things. Start having conversations with parents, asking parents if they would do videos to talk about what they're really excited about with the gym. Start using your technology and operating with that 2020 mindset to get the word out about the wonderful things that are happening in your gym. On the COVID side, we have seen gyms that have done video showing what they're doing. They're actually showing, not just writing a whole bunch of stuff. No one reads anything anymore, just to FYI. So if you really want to get a message out to parents, put a little video together. And there has been some gyms that have done really well with just doing a video showing these are the things that we're doing to make things safer for your children. And video, put it on the website, even put some ad spend behind it so people understand that your gym is safe and operating. So with that, here's a big question for you all. And I totally understand. Are you the biggest obstacle in your business, right? There are two critical parts to a business, and that's product and service and marketing and sales, right? Or you could say service and sales or product and marketing, right? They don't work well separate. What that means is if all of your efforts are in having really great coaches and good equipment, but you're doing nothing about people knowing that you have really great coaches and really good equipment, you're basically a storage shed, right? I could have a storage shed around the corner and I could put some really good equipment in it and I could have a couple of really good coaches hang outside that storage shed. If no one knows that it's there, no one's coming, right? So, and vice versa, if we have really good sales and marketing and it's a whole bunch of song and dance out there and everybody starts coming in, and then the coaches are terrible and your equipment's run down and the gym's all dirty and nasty, the sales will struggle very quickly. Although I would say that a company like McDonald's has somehow been able to figure out how to do poor products and actually still do really well because their marketing and sales and service is of a high quality. But think about yourself. Are you the biggest obstacle? Are you so fixated and focused on one part of your business that other parts of your business are struggling, right? So I think many gyms fall into the service focus where it's all about the gym, it's all about the equipment, and it's all about the coaches. And the sales and the marketing is very much a secondary thing. In this current environment, you cannot be that way, right? You must be doing sales and marketing more so than ever before. back in the 20s, right, during the Great Depression, there was a whole bunch of businesses that were household names that did not make it through the Great Depression. They disappeared. And there was a number of businesses that became massive household names, right? The difference between the two is the ones that were household names that did not make it through the Great Depression, they stopped their sales and marketing. They were like, you know what, our reputation's good enough. We've got enough stuff going on out there. And we're a household name. We don't need to market ourselves. We're going to cut back there because we want to save some money because things are tough. And they didn't make it. And then there was businesses like Chevrolet that actually hit the ground running, spent a whole bunch of money on marketing, and then out the other end of the Great Depression became a household name and is still around today, right? So what we want to make sure is that we don't want to go crazy. We don't want to be spending thousands of dollars that we don't have, but we need to be marketing and we need to be selling. One of the great advantages that you guys have, and I think, you know, this is kind of exciting actually. I owned my gym through the 2008, I guess, Great Recession. It was really tough. We got really badly financially hurt during that period. We didn't have a Facebook. We didn't have Facebook that worked the way that it does. Google didn't work the way that it does today. The targeting mechanisms for those platforms weren't that good. You could spend a lot of money on them and you could have some success, but it was very much similar to, you know, advertising on TV, radio, and all the other things that are out there. Now, with the way Facebook's targeting works and the way Google's targeting works, you can go after the affluent, you know, more comfortable parents who are willing to do business with you like no other time, right? You really can focus on that group of people. So let's say there's 100,000 people that live in your area, and let's say 17,000 of them are children. And of those children, 50% have been financially really hurt. Their families have been really hurt. That means you've got 7,000 people to target, because those children can afford to come and their parents haven't been financially hurt like the other half. And you can focus on them, right? Which means that they may still be doing business with you. You can actually focus in on the segment of your economy and your population that is less affected by the economy and by COVID than others. And that's never happened before, right? So be thinking about that and start, you know, incorporating that with your marketing and sales. Oh, a little bit out here. Here we go. Are your goals and mindset stuck in the past? Use every tool to fill your pool, right? So what that really basically means is most of us, I know we did it with our gym. We're constantly asking our parents to bring friends in and, you know, and referrals and all of that good stuff. The problem is if you got a small pool, and most of you have a small pool right now because of the way COVID has affected you. If all you do is work that pool, you'll start frustrating those parents. The pool will start being overfished, so to speak, and it's small and it's very hard to grow that pool by just trying to find more fit. You know, hey, Mr. Fish, do you know some other fish that I might be able to catch? That doesn't work. What we need to do is we need to grow the pool, right? So we need actually your pool to be larger. And what we need to really be focusing on, in my mind, is the community that we live in. So your pool is the community. That means how do you build systems and methods of communication to reach your community as a whole? And right now, Facebook, Google, Instagram, email marketing, as you harvest those emails, is your way to stay in touch with the community, right? Be putting out the really good content, showing the wonderful things that are happening in your gym so the community starts sharing it. Doing your virtual classes, and you might only do 2 or 3 virtual classes. You might do 1 virtual class a week for each type of you know, you might do one for ninja, you might do one for kinder gym, you might do one for rec gymnastics, and that might be it. And you just do those, and then you share those out to the community so your community can maybe do some virtual gymnastics classes. But we need to start filling that pool. We need to start creating our community as our pool. And that means we need to start building out the systems to actually reach them. Don't be number one, work to be the only one. I don't know if does anybody know what that means? Don't be number one, be the only one. Anybody? Anybody? Go on. I'm just checking to see if you guys are still engaged with me or not. But, anybody? Come on, one person type into chat. There's a whole bunch of you here. Does anybody know what don't be number one, be the only one means? I feel like playing Jeopardy music right now. I'm going to give up. I'm going to give up on you guys in a minute if you don't give me an answer. All right, I've given up. Okay, no, but I like it. All right. So if you're number one, that means there's a number two, number three, number four, number five, right? So number one means that you could get to the point where you're number two, right? It's a constant battle to stay in number one. Being the only one is the true power of marketing, right? And what that means is when that mom decides to sign up her little boy or little girl to kinder gym, that they're not thinking, should I sign them up to soccer, or should I sign them up to swimming, or should I sign them up to dance, or blah, 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 or gymnastics. And then maybe they go, oh, maybe I'll do gymnastics, and maybe you would just rank number one. You had a chance there of losing them because they were thinking of all the other options that were out there. With good, solid marketing and being in really constant contact with your community, you can literally become the only thought in their mind, right? Like for me, I actually like cider. I like to drink the odd, beer, if I'm honest, but I like cider. The only cider I like is Angry Orchard. And the only Angry Orchard I like is I think it's green apple, right? I don't know if anybody of you have ever had that. But when I think of cider, I only think of green apple, Angry Orchard. That's the only thing. I'll go into a grocery store and there will be all sorts of different ciders you can get. I'm just looking for the Angry Orchard green apple, and that's the only one I'm going to get. Right? And I pick it up and I go and buy it. They've actually got me to the point where it's the only thing that I'm going to consider. It's the only thing that I think about, right? If I'm thinking cider. I'm a little bit the same when it comes to travel, right? I'm a New Zealander. Some of you might not know that, or some of you might know that. I've lived here for a long time, but I'm a New Zealander. When I travel to New Zealand, there's only one airline I will travel, and that is Air New Zealand, right? I don't even think that there's other options, and there's lots of other options. I can fly Qantas, I can fly American Airlines, I can fly a whole bunch of different options to fly to New Zealand, but I will only fly in New Zealand because they've won me over. And I don't even think about the other options. I just go to the Air New Zealand's website and I just purchase whatever their flight is. And if I'm looking for a deal, I'm looking for a deal on Air New Zealand, nothing else, right? And what they've done is they've built a relationship with me where when I'm considering doing something in their industry, in their niche, they're the only businesses that I'm going to do business with. And what we can do now as gym owners is actually do the same thing. And the thing with gymnastics especially is it's the basis of almost all the other sports. I mean, most kids that do gymnastics at an early age, they're stronger, faster, more balanced, right? How many of our gymnasts, especially rec kids, end up becoming really great soccer players, right? Gymnastics is a sport that develops athletes. And, we can get the word out and really become the first thought in any parents, especially of younger children's thoughts when they're trying to get their kids into activities, right? Plus it focuses on the whole body, right? If a kid is doing a lot of gymnastics, that, all of their body is having a good workout, and they don't even know it. They're having fun. They're getting stronger. Their limbs are stronger. Their core is stronger. Their mentality is stronger. So we have the opportunity to get that word out. And never before has there been mediums that allow us to do it at such a cost-effective way, right? So here's my little long-winded answer. Don't be the number one choice, which means that you're just one of many. That's the equivalent of me going to the grocery store and going, I wonder which cider I might want today, right? It might not mean that I get an Angry Orchard. It might mean that I get something else, right? Or do you want to be like Angry Orchard, where I'm like, you know what, I want to get my little boy into sports. He's 3 years old and he's just starting out. You know what, I'm going to take him to the local gymnastics club, because I've seen a lot of stuff online about them, and they look like they're having a really good time, and it looks like a really positive environment. I'm going to take him down there first, right? That's where we want to be. So with that, let's do a little calculation, actually. So how to calculate your membership goals. And I really, truly believe that this is still relevant to today, because, although, there has been people that have been affected physically, and unfortunately there has been, casualties to COVID. I think the number is 200,000 deaths of COVID. Almost all of them are not children. Most of them are not parents. Most of them may be grandparents, unfortunately, that have passed away due to COVID, which means that the population is still the same pre-COVID that you're focusing on. Most of the parents are still there. Most of the kids are still there, right? So if you have a population of, say, 100,000, about 15% of them are going to be kids, right? I think the actual number is closer to 17%. But being a little bit conservative, it's about 15% of the population is children, right? So if you think that we've got 320 million people in the United States, there's about 55 million children under the age of 18, right? Between the age of, say, 18 and I guess newborn. In your community, think about what your local population is. And when I say local population, maybe drive up, right? So, if you're in a large city and you're in the more urban area, you're going to have a smaller radius, maybe as small as 5 miles. People might not drive much more than 5 miles to go to any kind of event or any gym. If you're in a suburban community, the number that we usually work with is about 10-mile radius, right? And then if you're in a rural community, you might go as much as 25 or 50 miles, right? If you're in Texas, you might not think much about driving 50 miles to go to gymnastics if you're in the countryside. But whatever your catchment area for your community, figure out what your population is, times that by 15%, and that should get you a child population total. We believe, because we've seen it time and time and time again, that you can get 10% or more of that total child population total when you get into a situation where the community totally knows about you, when that community is totally aware of you, and you become the only choice in their minds because they've seen so many positive things about you, and they are excited about you as a community. You can absolutely get 10% plus of that child population coming to you. When I lived in Lake Tahoe, the local dance school had about 50% of all the kids going there. Like 75% of the girls would go through this dance school. Now, the population was 20,000. So 20,000 with 15% of that. So what's that? 20,000. That's 3,000 kids. That dance school was getting about 1,500 kids in a 20,000 population going to it. It was amazing. And it was a big deal. And like every Christmas, everybody would go and watch all the kids do a Christmas recital. It was a big community event. They had to hire out the big community center to actually get all the kids and all the parents and all the community that wanted to come and watch, see it. And she did a great job of marketing her business to become the first thought in the parents' eyes, the only thought in the parents' minds, because it was such a major part of the community. And she did a really good job of community reach out. So if you've got 100,000 in your local population, I'll talk about my town that I'm in is about 150,000 people. So with 150,000 people, actually, you know what? I'm gonna say that it's 100,000 because it'll be easier on my math, because I'm not going to pull up my calculator. So in my community, 100,000 people, it means we got 15,000 kids. We should be able to get 10% of those 15,000 kids. That means we should be able to get 1,500 membership goal. That should be our goal. Now, whether or not we'll get that overnight depends on how well we've reached out to the community, how how well we've communicated with the community on how we're dealing with COVID. How well are we communicating with the community on the amazing awesomeness that we're creating in our gyms? You know, the benefits of what's going on, the sharing the stories, and there's so many of them, the wonderful stories about how you're helping build kids' characters and bodies, and not shying away from showing what happens in your gym every day. I know there's many gyms that kind of shy away from that. I never understand that. We should not have anything to hide, correct? There's nothing to hide. If we are hiding something, we need to be questioning what we're hiding. So we should be getting the word out about the wonderful stuff that happens every day, the wonderful relationships between our wonderful staff that we've put so much time and effort into building, especially that coaching staff, sharing how those wonderful aspects of your business. And then some things to remember: you are competing against all kids' activity offerings. So you're competing against swimming, dance, soccer, baseball. You're competing with a lot of stuff that's outside, right? It is summer. So those of you in the snow belt or the colder areas during the, I mean, I'm in Phoenix. We're absolutely looking forward to a good solid January. But most other parts of the country is not in that way. It's going to get colder and it will be an indoor sport. Because it's warmer right now, people are not that excited, especially with COVID. They want to be outside. So they're choosing, you know, those outside sports. So you are competing against everything. You're not competing against other gyms. In reality, I would suggest that some of you gyms in the larger community should band together even to get the word out about the sport and the benefits of it if you're wanting to do something. Because you are competing against those other sports, and you need to think of that. Most of them are doing a poor job of promoting themselves. You know, AYSO Soccer, which is one of the largest organizations in the United States for kids, is terrible at promoting themselves. They really are. They're not very good. You see signs out on the corners of streets, and that's about it. You know, I would like to, you know, I don't even know how I'd sign up my son to AYSO Soccer. I'd have to really figure it out and really chase it down. So most of them are doing a poor job of promoting themselves. The community sports, all of that stuff, parents usually have to put a lot of effort in to find out what's going on. As parents, especially as mums, you guys are out there, probably when you decide that you want to get your kid into a sport, there becomes this whole research process that you go through to find out what's available, where is it happening, what times, and the organizations are not that helpful with actually getting them on board or getting you on board with them. So what you can do to make it really, really easy to start growing your business again is to be the opposite to that. Make it very easy for them to find you, make it very easy for them to find out about you, and make it extremely easy for them to join you. Right? Take away that friction, take away those reasons why they'll give up and not do business with you, and market yourself, get the word out so they find you. Tenure matters online. It's something that you guys probably don't think about it at all, but basically be the first in your community to do this correctly, right? That means that if I own a gym and say Jessica owns a gym, if Jessica's been here 5 years and she's been doing things right, especially online, particularly online, and she's got a really well-run Google campaign running with her Google My Business set up correctly. She's got her Facebook page is set up correctly. She's got some really good messages going out. She's got reviews on Facebook and Google, lots of good reviews on Facebook and Google. And maybe she's running a campaign as well on Facebook and Instagram. If I come in and I do an equally as good a job, even maybe a better job, she's always going to be ahead of me. And the reason for that is a major part of the algorithms for Facebook and Google is longevity. Facebook and Google look at your businesses and go, who's been in business longer? Who's been doing things online longer than the other? And they reward us for it, right? So if you've been running a good online presence for a long period of time, you're going to get to a point where unless you stop doing it, your competition won't ever really be able to match you, right? So doing it, being first and doing it right and getting onto it over time will be a big competitive advantage to you, right? So what's next? So tomorrow, I highly recommend that you come in. Tomorrow is going to be branding and messaging with one and only Hannah Harper, who is our marketing director, our production director and marketing director. She runs all of the campaigns. She's in charge of running all the campaigns. She manages our team. She is going to talk to you about brand, and she's going to be talking to you about messaging, making sure that you're saying the right things to actually get results, right? And how to do that. She's going to talk about websites and setting up your website correctly, making sure that you've got your social media set up correctly. All of that good stuff is going to be spoken about tomorrow. And we're going to give you examples and show you what we believe you need to be doing to get results. On Wednesday, you're going to be talking to my partner, Russell Masters, from Hamilton, New Zealand. He's going to be tuning in. And he's going to be talking to you about building a targeted audience. So where I spoke to you guys about never before have we been able to target the portion of the population that is least affected by COVID and the economy, this is where you're going to learn how to do that. And he's very methodical. This is not a, this is a very deep dive, detailed conversation about building an audience and making sure you get it right. So you please make sure that you're part of that so you can learn how to do that, because that in itself, in my mind, is the secret sauce, making sure that you're reaching the right people with the right message and not wasting money or time reaching people that you don't need to reach. And then Thursday will be the last class, and we'll be talking about converting your inquiries into members. And we're going to be talking a lot about making sure that you have the right team to do it and making sure that they are doing the right things to convert those inquiries into members. And like I said, we have one gym especially that is signing up about 50 to 60 kids a month. Is it, Jessica? What was the number that we had? If you want to just, was it 50?
Ella, was it correct that it was about 2 to 3 per day that they were signing up?
Yeah,
yes, so that is correct.
So it's 60 to 90 people a day that they're signing up. Now, we're going to try and kind of like distill a little bit of what they're doing. One of the big things that I believe that they're doing, which even a lot of our clients aren't doing, is that they've actually hired a salesperson. They've actually hired a salesperson. So they're getting 2 to 3 leads a day. Is it 2 to 3 leads a day they're getting, Ella? And then they get it, but then they're converting most of them, correct?
Yeah, it fluctuates per day, but they pretty much convert almost all of them. Right. I want to say, like, if they get 10 leads, they convert about 9 of them.
Right. And what they do, so when those leads come in, they've actually got a process that we'll share with you, but they also have a salesperson who's actually running that process. And they hired that person during COVID, I think, to actually do this. And they're actually working remotely. Those leads are coming in and that person is working through those leads and driving in that business and converting it into business. I'm going to talk about that on Thursday. So that's it for today, guys. This is mainly an introduction as to what we're going to go through. But my big thing, the big takeaway that I want you to have is get your mind in the right area for growth, right? Things are tough. Things are really tough. Some of you are having it much tougher than others, but all of you are having a tough period right now. We need to make sure that we're not letting that bog us down from actually getting through this and actually working towards a better day. Right. And there's a lot of opportunity out there. There's a lot of parents looking for options. Most kids activity centers. So when I say that, that means anybody that's involved in kids recreational sports. Most of them are doing a very poor job right now of reaching out to parents and converting them. So ways that you can take action, and we'll wrap this up, is join. If you're not part of the gymnastics marketing group, please join it. There's a lot of good information in there. We're going to be giving away a whole bunch of good services that I highly recommend that you do. If you want to actually have a line by line marketing academy, so you can actually learn line by line how to actually do all the things that we're going to be talking about over the next 4 days. There's a marketing academy, the gymnastics marketing academy, that we built, that was basically built off the back of a internal training system that we had to train our own staff on how to market gymnastics, right? Because we've got a good number of staff that works in the gymnastics niche. We actually built this to help train them on how to market gymnastics. And what we've decided to do is open it up to the gymnastics industry. If you don't have any money, put a 0 donation in. If you have some, you think it's worth it, give us a donation. I'd appreciate it. Keeps my lights on. But the main thing is that you get in there and you've actually got this resource to actually, step by step, learn how to build out Facebook and Instagram ads and run a marketing campaign to drive business. There's about 70 videos and classes in there. So it's a detailed operation. I highly recommend that you look into that. And then finally, if you decide, and you don't need to make any decisions now, if you want to work with us to supercharge your gym, go to www.creatively-disruptive.com/reopen-strategy. And we're actually doing a 1 month kind of setup. We work with us for 1 month. And we help get things rolling for you. And then you can either take it from there or you can decide to continue working with us. Either way, we want to help get you up to speed a little bit quicker. So there's your options. So does anybody have any questions? I know we've got a few people in here. Does anybody have any questions before we finish for the day? Nope, what's going on here? Oh, end of slide. There we go. Where are you all? There we go. Does anybody have any questions? We got, that was great. No problem. No problem, Madison. We really want you guys to get back on track. I mean, it's so important to us that and for our kids to actually have you guys operating and running well. And quite frankly, you guys have been really good to my company and to my team over the years. And it's our time to actually step up and help you guys get back to where you deserve to be.
And Andy, if I could just chime in, if that's okay, real quick. I work with a lot of the gyms, and I know that this is a really difficult time. I've seen our clients go through just the lowest of the lows during this time, but it's really exciting when I do speak to clients to see how many of them are turned around now and are doing well despite what they thought was possible. And a lot of them are, doing these exact things that Andy's kind of setting us up to review this week. So, I want everybody to feel optimistic because we're seeing people use this system and being very successful with it.
Yep.
And that's exciting.
And it's, we're going to go through this line by line, step by step. There's nothing held back. The way I look at it is you guys are busy. If you have one or two things, right? You either have money or time, right? Those of you that have no money and no time, that's a really difficult situation to be in. But if you don't have any money, hopefully you have time that you can do it yourself and learn how to do it yourself. As you start, generating revenue again, hopefully maybe you'll think about us and hire us on to do your marketing for you. If you have lots of money and no time, then we can help you work through to getting even more money. But I know right now most of you are struggling a little bit with the revenue side of things, and we want to give you as much information to kind of build it all out and do it yourself. At the very least, if you end up having somebody else who does it for you, you should understand how it'll work so you can hold them to account, so you can make sure that they're not like full of it. But what I can say is if you do these things, it's not a get rich quick scheme. It's just a get back on track and then over time get rich scheme, right? Prior to COVID, we'd taken many gyms from say 500 gym members to 1,000 or 100 to 300. We doubled or tripled the number of kids that were in gyms constantly. And it's not rocket science. And if I'm honest, it's more of the power of the algorithm and the power of Facebook and Instagram and Google. And we just teach you how to actually use it to your advantage. So that's it, guys. Have a good day. Look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. And you'll be training with Hannah Harper. Take care.